And once again, this is Jay Taft. We're here with the weekly sports podcast, Not Just a Game. And as we do every week, we're reaching out and getting some good guests that folks want to hear about right now. And right now, it's baseball time. And so I've got some baseball guys here, and this is going to be a fun little talk. I'm really looking forward to it. I've got two gentlemen. Their names are synonymous with baseball in the Rockford region. I have with me Dan and Dennis Scarpetta. So first of all, Dan, thank you for coming. I really appreciate it. Thanks for coming. Everybody safe in that household?
Everybody's safe, and we're just trying to do everything we can and do our part to keep it that way.
You bet. You bet.
Yeah.
Dennis, also, thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. We'll have to bounce around on our little Zoom meeting here, but I think we can handle it. Denny, thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you for having us.
This is going to be fun. I mean, everybody knows that baseball is hopping right now. I mean, it's been a long few months with this coronavirus pandemic, and everything was shut down for quite a while. But we're seeing some sports start to creep back into our lives, and baseball is one of them. And we've seen youth baseball and some travel leagues and different teams and leagues kind of make their way back in. And Dan and Dennis run the Rockford Baseball Academy and have for quite some time, and do quite a good job out there with instruction and clinics and leagues and some serious action as well. So I want to get into a lot of that kind of stuff, but we're also seeing baseball in the big spotlight. Major League Baseball is going to be kicking off this week as well. So we're going to hit a little bit of everything right now. Let me start, Dennis, if you can. Dennis, give us your baseball resume real quick. Tell folks out there kind of how you've been through the ringer when it comes to baseball.
Well, I signed actually with a free agent contract in 1982 with the Phillies. Played 2 years of minor league baseball as a pitcher. Came back home, kind of started with my family, started coaching my daughters actually in some softball out at Roy Gale for a good 3 years. And then my boys got old enough to start finally coaching them. So I've been coaching probably a good close to 30 years.
Wow. And as you mentioned, the family, it's been a family affair, and not just with you and Dan, but your children. And there's just been a slew of kids that have gone through the system, baseball and softball wise. Dan, you with us over there?
I got back hooked on, Jay, thanks to my wife.
No, good. Give us your resume a little bit, your baseball resume, and also break down some of the family tree of baseball Scarpettas.
Well, I'm giving my age away, you know that, but
That's all right.
It goes back. I was drafted in '82 by the Brewers. Played all through the minors, all the way from the rookie league all the way up to AAA. Went to the big league camp with the Dodgers in '89 before I hurt my arm. Was traded in between there in '84 to the Texas Rangers. A little side note, Ned Yost and myself was traded from the Brewers to the Texas Rangers for Jim Sundberg back in '83 actually.
Some nice Rockford baseball trivia there.
Yeah. And was traded back in '85, and ended up playing through their system. And in 1989, signed as a free agent with the Dodgers. Got the opportunity to go to big league camp. Was actually had a chance to make that club before I got hurt. I hurt my arm out of spring training, and kind of battled through injuries through that year. And that was the same year that my son was born, in '89. And so it was a tough year, being injured and not playing. And, it's people, when you're injured, you don't understand the frustrations you have as a player not being able to. So it was a tough year. And after that year, decided that, I was going to be home. I wanted to be home. And looking back, I'm not sure that was the greatest decision I made, but because I was still young, relatively young, at 25 years old at the time.
Yeah.
But
Loses fast, though, doesn't it?
yeah, exactly. But so anyway, fast forward 25 years later, my son, he grows up and he gets drafted by the same organization, the Milwaukee Brewers,
That's
that I
Cody, correct?
Cody was drafted 25 years later by the same organization. So that's kind of interesting. And he did, he made it to the big leagues for they'd say a cup of coffee, and he might have had a sip, but nonetheless, he played. And so, we've been involved with baseball, through coaching and teaching, mentoring, every part of baseball that there is. So, ever since, it's just been a part of our life, ever since we were kids.
Yes. And as I mentioned, I mean, your names are just synonymous with baseball around here. Dennis, give us a quick take on how Rockford Baseball Academy got started and what that's all about.
So for years, when I started with my boys and Dan started with his, he actually started a little bit before me with Cody. He started a team called Rockford Hitmen. Started when they were, I believe, 9 as well. Rode those kids, or a lot of them, up till they were 18. And same with me. I started with my own team, and it was called Boys of Summer. I had started with a group of boys that were 9 years old. By the time I were done, they were graduating and going to college. We just couldn't say no when our kids were done playing, and the love and the passion that we had, it kind of took over. Dan didn't want to give up the Rockford Hitmen, and I didn't want to give up the Boys of Summer name. And so we kind of compromised and started with Rockford Baseball Academy probably about 5 years ago. And so we've started that program there. We have kids, depending upon the year, that will be from 13U all the way up to 18U. As you mentioned earlier, we've had a lot of great kids come through our program. I think we've had about 7 kids that's played professional baseball, a number of kids who have played Division I baseball, and we're still hammering away. I'm actually coaching our 17-year-old team this summer, and just finished up a tournament last weekend. So we're still going at it. Through the struggles and tough times this summer's been, a couple of schedule changes through tournaments, but we made it through. We're getting baseball in. Families are happy, kids are happy, and we're happy to be back teaching and giving them the help that we love to do.
I would imagine you've never been through anything of like what you've been through the past few months. It's just been such a challenge to get anything accomplished from a business standpoint, from a sports lover and a fan standpoint, and then from just people's mental health. I mean, some people like yourselves are just driven, their lives are surrounded by these certain sports, in this case baseball. Dan, give us a take on how you guys as a family and as a company, and as a league, handled these past few months in the pandemic, and now how you're kind of getting yourselves going again.
Well, I'll be perfectly honest with you, Jay. When this all came down, we were in the middle of let's see, February, March. So our high school kids had just started their high school. We do our workouts and our training, and we just lost the high school kid just a few weeks prior to, and then we had to make a decision about shutting it all down because it was just getting to the point where it was everybody was shutting down, and the last thing we needed was a kid or a player to get infected and run through our program or something, and then or heaven forbid somebody, if you guys would have shut down, then then we didn't want to take the blame for that either. So we had to make a decision early on about shutting our program down. It was a tough decision, and but we just felt that that's what we needed to do. And it wasn't until what, June, I believe, or May, late May. Well, we really wasn't sure if there was going to be in baseball in Illinois. There were tournaments going on in all around us, up in Wisconsin, Indiana, Ohio, Iowa, but we're of the belief that typically in a typical year, we don't have to travel 5, 6, 7, 8 hours away to get good baseball. You can get very good baseball within an hour and a half to 2 hours, any direction you want to go. So going all the way, expanding, we weren't thrilled about it, but if we wanted to play, and we sent out a thing early for the kids and the parents, just to say, hey, who wants to play, because under those circumstances, it's, I mean, you may not kids might not want to play, and
certain kids have underlying health concerns.
Absolutely. And I do myself. And so, what happened was we sent it out, and I'll bet you, Jay, we didn't have more than, we have close to 80 kids in our program. We probably had maybe 4 kids that didn't
Opted out.
Yeah. So by far the majority, and when I say they wanted to play, they wanted to play, and as a parent, you want to see your kids play. And so that was, so that told us, okay, well then let's follow through, because we had to shut it down. We were prepared to just say, what, let's just shut it down. And so, but a lot of kids and the parents, they all jumped in and said, and we told them, this is what we need to do, give them the outline, and, about social distancing. And, each tournament has their own guidelines. So we have to follow those as well, but we also have our own. And, everybody's got to do their part and do the best they can. But so we started with our tournaments, and and Denny does all the scheduling. And my hat's totally off to him, because
that's been fun.
It's been a complete nightmare. In fact, we had, up until last week, Jay, we still had tournaments canceling, up in Wisconsin, because all of a sudden, they get a numbers spike a little bit. And so it's been a complete struggle with that, but you just, it's been a struggle for everybody, coaches, kids, tournament directors, parents, everybody. It's just been a year that, it's unprecedented. Nobody's ever gone through it before. It's frustrating, but it's frustrating for everybody. Nobody's really ahead of anybody, because you couldn't really start, high schools were done. So everybody really started on a level playing field. So when we got to go ahead, that we could get back in our facility and, to get started, obviously our kids were very excited. And, so yeah, we're happy to be doing it and back at it. it's not quite the same.
Mhm.
There are still challenges, but everybody's making the best of it. It really is.
And you mentioned that all the tournaments are different, and we're even talking about tournaments in different states. Dennis, give us an idea. How many tournaments were you guys able to get in what different states were the tournaments? And give us an idea of what some of the guidelines and the restrictions were for those.
So for anything our 14U and under, we usually try to schedule 10 tournaments a summer.
Hmm.
This year, one of our, I don't want to say a problem, but our challenges is whether or not high school football is going to go on around here. If high school football happens, we lose 70% of our kids, which means as of mid-August, we're pretty much done with baseball because we just don't have enough kids for teams at any level. But we were able to, we went into Wisconsin, we've went into Indiana, our 14-year-olds have went over to Iowa, and then as soon as what was it, June 27th or so, we were able to start playing in Illinois. We started that Saturday after the Friday we went to stage 4. So we're able to get our tournaments in. Right now we shoot for 6 tournaments with our high schools, and we're gonna get 6 tournaments with them. We're playing every weekend, but if we wanted to play, that's what we had to do. Some of the guidelines that they have done up in Wisconsin, and it depends a little bit on the fields that they're allowed to get on, because a lot of the colleges and the high school fields, they're not letting them on the public schools and the public grounds to play. If it's a park district type field, which is one of them that we play on up in Kenosha, Wisconsin, they have their own guidelines. They had it all roped off and marked off. Nobody was able to get behind home plate, behind the backstop. The bleachers on both sides was roped off and was used as part of the dugout. And only 2 kids were allowed in the dugout at a time. The kids' bags had to be outside the dugouts. They were able to use the bleachers and things like that. And then you go to somewhere else and it's not as strict in that. I think it depends on where you went. In Indiana, we just played over there. And really, there was the only different change we had over there had to do with umpires, where umpires now have the option to either get behind the catcher like normal, and if they did, they'd be an extra 3-4 feet behind them, or they had the option to call balls and strikes from behind the pitcher, which is what most of them did over in Indiana. The fans wise and dugout wise, there really wasn't restrictions. We tell our players, bring hand sanitizer. We wipe down things. We try to make sure when we leave that it's sanitized for the next teams coming in. And that, so overall, there's not huge changes other than Wisconsin was by far the biggest change for us playing wise.
And it is different at each tournament and in each region, in each state. And we know how that is. That's kind of how it is all across the country. Dan, we've got the Rockford Rivets have been playing, and that's a wood bat league, a smaller level with fans. Now we've got the Major League Baseball's about to start on Thursday, and they're not playing. They've got a few cardboard fans, I think, in the first couple of rows, but with no fans. Um, Dan, what is the near future of baseball going to look like? Give us a little take on, do you think this is the path that MLB has taken us down the path that we're looking at for a while here? And what's your take?
I think as long as this virus is still active and it seems to be spiking up a little bit more, I think that this is our new, somewhat, if you want to call it, normal. I mean, I don't like to call it normal in any capacity because it's just so abnormal that, yeah, I
Doesn't
mean,
feel normal, does it?
no, the quality of life right now is not. But as far as baseball goes, Jay, I'm not sure at some point that, I mean, you got stadiums that seat, 45,000 people, if they can't let an X amount of people in, as long as they can social distance. No different than if you go to a grocery store, if you go anywhere, a restaurant, you can let 25% in. Um, so I think at some point that'll happen. Um, I hope it does. I hope it does because, if you're going to let them play, you can social distance. You can social distance. I mean, we do that. We do that in everyday
Proving,
life.
right? Yeah, you guys are
Exactly.
proving it over there as well.
Exactly. It can be done. But I think as long as the virus is here with us, we got to find ways of dealing with it and living with it. Because as of right now, there is no treatment, there is no cure, yeah, but life has to go on. We just can't stop living. So we got to find ways of living with it and doing the things that we have control over in our own powers to help reduce those risks. And so there's challenges, but challenges, they can be overcome if people are willing to do that. And I think, unfortunately, I think we live in the United States, Jay, where we have a lot of entitlement people, and they don't want to be told, what they can do, what they can't do. But at the same time, we got to protect people. We got to protect each other. And so I think for the time being, I mean, I wish I knew that the answer to that, Jay. If we knew if there was going to be a vaccine, a cure, or treatment, or something, it'd be a whole lot easier to give that answer. But with the way things are right now, I don't think anybody knows. I guess the unknown is the scariest thing because nobody really knows what direction it's going to go.
Uncharted waters.
Definitely.
That's like a weekly term here on our podcast
Yeah.
these days. Dan and Dennis Scarpetta, you guys have been awesome. I want to close by asking each of you, obviously baseball guys, you've seen so many young kids kind of grow through the sport, and as we touched on earlier, these times, getting through these kind of times that we've been in, it's a mental struggle as well. Start with you, Dennis. What message do you give to young baseball players out there right now, going through this and hoping to maybe come out the other side here soon, but this is still where we are?
I usually tell our kids, and most of it has to do with our older kids. And I usually tell them there will come a day when you will not have a decision or a choice to play baseball anymore. The world will decide that for you. Take advantage of what you have right now. Don't stop playing. Keep playing as long as you can, because it will come to an end. And as you heard Dan say earlier, about did he make a mistake about leaving with the Dodgers and that. These kids are a whole lot younger and things. And so for me, that's a huge thing that I keep telling them is we don't know what tomorrow will bring. So take advantage of today and just keep playing. If you love it, keep playing.
Good stuff. That's Dennis Scarpetta. Thank you, sir. Dan, give us your take. Give us your message to the young ones out there, or anybody struggling with what we're going through right now, with a baseball mindset and with a getting through life mindset.
Well, I think when it comes to baseball, it's no different than anything, Jay. You have to prepare. No matter what, you have to still work. You have to go out. When we were kids, man, we didn't have travel baseball. We depended on. I depended on my brother, and me, and you got to find time, to go to the batting cage, to take that extra ground ball, but you have to prepare yourself for the time that this will pass. I mean, right now it's dark for us, but it will pass. And, you've got to be ready when that time does happen. Just like the kids this year, we couldn't practice, but we had to we stayed on our kids. Stay ready. Make sure you're throwing, because when the bell rings, we don't have, like the big leaguers have right now, a month to get ready. We have a week, that's what you have. So for our pitchers, and we were very, very, upfront, listen, if you're not throwing now, you will not throw during the season, because we can't take a chance on kids getting hurt. All of a sudden they think it's time, well, I can just turn it on. It don't quite work like that. So preparation for our kids is a big thing, no matter if you're having a coach or not. You got to have a brother, a dad, somebody that you can throw with, that you can hit with, that you can take ground balls with. So as far as baseball goes, the preparation's the same. That's the biggest thing, no matter what. If you send your kid to me for a half-hour lesson, or you go to practice for a 2 hours once a week, don't expect your kid to be a great player. It's outside of that where kids become real players. So you gotta put your time in, put the work in. There's no guarantees. The only guarantees is if you don't do it, it will not happen for you. And I tell people, I've told people, moms and dads and kids, listen, I'm not sure, but I'm telling you, I do know if you don't put the work in, it won't happen for you. And Denny and I both been blessed with having some great players. I've had my son who got to the big leagues. I coached Jake Smolinski. They played on the same team. And I had our teams. We've had just tremendous players, Jay, to go through our that have been associated with us and through our program. We do it for the love of the game. We love the kids. We love seeing kids get better and move on in life. And all of a sudden they're in college and they're playing. And that's the biggest thrill you get, is when kids come back, or they send you a text or something from their college and how they did, and they're succeeding. And that's why we do it. That's why we do it, and we'll continue doing it. And through the little struggles that we have right now. Right now, it's just we got a little bump in the road. But, it'll pass. It'll pass. Just got to stay tough, stay focused.
Yep, it's quite a bump, but you're right. People are learning to adapt, as you guys at the Rockford Baseball Academy are showing us, as Major League Baseball is going to be showing us here in a couple of nights. We're moving forward. It's just good to see, and we just hope that we can continue to take steps forward and not have to take 2 forward, 1 or 2 back. Let's see where we can get to. And I think baseball maybe is showing us a little bit of a path to take. Dennis Scarpetta, thank you so much, sir. I really appreciate your time.
You're very welcome, Jay. Thanks for having us.
And Dan, you too as well. Stay safe, your whole family. Just thanks for being with us.
Yeah, Jay, you stay safe as well. And, God bless everybody, and everybody do their part, and we'll get through this.
Good stuff. Good stuff. This is what the podcast is all about. I appreciate you guys being with us. Once again, this was Jay Taft with your weekly sports podcast, Not Just a Game. Thanks, guys.